The final ultimatum. The observation deck of Orbital Defense Station Alpha offered a haunting view of Earth, beautiful, blue, and seemingly peaceful from this distance. Commander Elena Reyes knew better. Her planet was dying. "Status report," she demanded, her voice steady despite the chaos unfolding around her. Lieutenant Devon Park's fingers flew across the holographic display. "The Khazari fleet has breached our outer defensive line. Beijing, New Delhi, and Cairo have gone dark. Casualty reports," he hesitated, swallowing hard, "are in the millions and climbing." Elena didn't flinch, couldn't afford to. Not with what remained of Earth's United Defense Force looking to her for leadership. The station, one of only 3 still operational, shuddered as another volley of alien energy weapons struck its shields. "Shields at 32% and failing," reported Tactical Officer Maya Wong. "Commander, we can't take another direct hit." Outside the reinforced viewport, the vastness of the Khazari Armada stretched across the stars. Thousands of obsidian ships shaped like angular predatory fish, their hulls absorbing light rather than reflecting it. They had appeared 3 weeks ago without warning, emerging from what scientists now called fold space, rendering Earth's early warning systems useless. The first ships had come under the guise of diplomacy. The Khazari ambassador, a towering 6-limbed being with iridescent scales and compound eyes, had seemed reasonable at first, requesting only to establish a small outpost on Mars. Earth's United Nations had been cautiously optimistic, until the outpost became a staging ground, until the Khazari revealed their true intention, Earth's resources and its strategic position in what they called the Galactic Confluence. "Commander," Dr. Eliza Chen, the station's chief science officer, approached with a tablet in hand. "We finished analyzing the data from the Sydney Research Facility before it fell." Elena turned, noting the strange glimmer of hope in the scientist's eyes, the first she'd seen in days. "You found something." "Project Gaia," Dr. Chen said quietly. "It works." The words hung in the air, heavy with implication. Project Gaia had been theoretical, a last-ditch defense system integrated into Earth's biosphere itself. Many had considered it too dangerous, too unpredictable, too powerful. "You're certain?" Elena asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Dr. Chen nodded. "The test run in the Australian outback was successful. The system requires a planetary-scale activation, but the principles are sound. We can trigger it from here." Elena turned back to the viewport, watching the Khazari ships methodically positioning themselves for another assault. Earth had already lost most of its conventional defenses, orbital platforms, the lunar base, the fleet of hastily armed spacecraft. They'd fought valiantly, but were hopelessly outmatched by the Khazari's technology. But humans had always been resourceful, always found ways to survive against impossible odds. "What's the catch, Doctor?" Elena asked, knowing there had to be one. "It's irreversible," Chen replied. "And we don't know the exact extent of the effects. The simulations suggest it will target only the Khazari biology and technology, but there could be unexpected consequences." Elena nodded slowly. "So we're betting everything on an untested weapon that might save humanity or might finish what the Khazari started." "Essentially, yes." The station shook again, more violently this time. "Direct hit to lower decks," Maya shouted over the blaring alarms. "Shields at 15%. We've lost contact with stations Beta and Gamma." The decision crystallized in Elena's mind with startling clarity. There was no choice, not really. Not if humanity was to have any chance at all. "Lieutenant Park," she ordered, "open a direct channel to the Khazari command ship." The bridge crew fell silent, exchanging uncertain glances. "Do it," Elena insisted. "One last warning before we show them what humanity is truly capable of." Park worked quickly, his hands trembling slightly. "Channel open, Commander. You're broadcasting to their flagship." Elena straightened her uniform and faced the communications array. The main screen flickered, then filled with the image of the Khazari war leader, Supreme Commander Vexcor. His scaled face was impassive, compound eyes reflecting the light like dark jewels. Human Commander. The alien's voice rumbled through the translation system. Have you finally come to offer your surrender? Elena met his gaze unflinchingly. No, Supreme Commander. I've come to offer you one final opportunity to withdraw your forces and leave our system in peace. A sound emerged from the Khazari that might have been laughter. Your species' persistence is remarkable, if futile. Your defenses are broken. Your cities burn. What possible threat could you pose now? You came to our world uninvited. Elena continued, ignoring his mockery. You chose war when we offered peace. Now you will face the consequences of that choice. Vexcor leaned forward, his massive form filling the screen. Brave words from a dying species. We have conquered 100 worlds, Commander. Civilizations far more advanced than yours have fallen before us. What makes you think Earth will be any different? Elena allowed herself a small, grim smile. Because you don't understand what you're fighting. Humanity doesn't surrender, Commander. We adapt. We survive. And when backed into a corner, we become something else entirely. She paused, letting her words sink in. Since you chose war, brace for the consequences. You have 1 hour to retreat beyond the orbit of Pluto. After that, we will activate our planetary defense system. Vexcor's compound eyes glittered. Your bluffs are as transparent as they are desperate. Your orbital defenses are crippled. Your ground-based weapons cannot reach our ships. What miraculous system do you imagine will save you now? You'll find out. Elena replied calmly. 1 hour, Commander. Then we'll show you why it was a mistake to threaten Earth. She nodded to Park, who cut the transmission. The bridge remained silent for several long moments. Do you think they'll withdraw? Maya finally asked. No, Elena replied, moving toward the science station where Dr. Chen waited. They're too confident, too committed, but they needed to be warned. Why? Lieutenant Park asked. Why give them any warning at all? Elena turned to face her crew, the last defenders of Earth with any real power to act. Because we're human, she said simply, and whatever happens next, whatever we become to survive this threat, I want the historical records to show that we gave them a choice, that we remained true to our principles even at the end. She looked back at the view screen, now showing the Khazari fleet beginning to move into a new attack formation. Begin the Gaia protocol activation sequence, she ordered. And may God help us all. As the crew rushed to comply, Elena returned to the observation window, gazing down at the blue planet below, her home, humanity's cradle, now fighting for its very existence. They wanted war, she whispered to herself. Now they'll get it. The countdown to humanity's last stand had begun. Humanity unleashed. 58 minutes after Commander Elena Reyes issued her ultimatum, the Khazari fleet launched their most devastating attack yet. They're targeting population centers worldwide, Lieutenant Park reported, his voice hollow as he watched the tactical display. Concentrated bombardment on remaining military installations and power grids. Elena had expected this. The Khazari weren't taking her warning seriously. Why would they? From their perspective, Earth had nothing left to offer but token resistance. Status of Gaia protocol, she asked, turning to Dr. Chen. 93% loaded, the scientist replied. The global network is responding. We're integrating the activation codes now. Elena nodded. And our broadcast. Communications officer Yuri Petrov looked up from his station. Transmitting on all frequencies, Commander. Every surviving communications relay on Earth is sending the emergency signal. Anyone still able to receive messages will know what's coming. That was something, at least. Elena had made sure that any humans who survived the initial Khazari attacks would have some warning about what was about to happen. The Gaia protocol would change everything. The planet itself would become the weapon. The station shuddered again, more violently this time. Direct hit, Maya shouted. Shields failing. Hull breach on deck 4. Seal it off, Elena ordered. How much longer, Doctor? 2 minutes until full activation, Chen replied, working frantically at her console. But Commander, we're detecting a new energy signature from the Khazari flagship. They're charging some kind of primary weapon. Analysis suggests it could destabilize Earth's tectonic plates. Elena's blood ran cold. The Khazari were planning to crack the planet open rather than allow humans to maintain any foothold. They're calling our bluff, she murmured. Then, louder. Can we accelerate the protocol? Chen shook her head. The system requires full integration. Rushing it could result in catastrophic failure. Another impact rocked the station, sending several crew members tumbling to the floor. Emergency lights flashed as the main power fluctuated. Life support compromised, Maya reported, blood streaming from a cut on her forehead. Estimated failure in 10 minutes. Elena steadied herself against a console. It doesn't matter. We only need 2. On the main screen, the massive Khazari weapon continued charging, a sphere of sickly green energy growing at the front of their flagship. 1 minute to protocol activation, Dr. Chen announced. The view screen suddenly flickered, and Supreme Commander Vexcor's face appeared, his compound eyes gleaming with triumph. Your time has expired, human, he said, mandibles clicking. Your pathetic threat was empty, as I knew it would be. Now witness the end of your world. Elena smiled, not the diplomatic smile of a military commander, but the predatory grin of a cornered animal about to strike. You still don't understand what humanity is, do you? She asked. We're not just another conquest. We're not just another species for you to subjugate. We are Earth's children, and we've evolved alongside the most efficient killers this planet has produced. Vexcor's head tilted slightly in confusion. Earth itself rejects you, Elena continued. And now you'll understand why you should have heeded our warning. Protocol activation in 10 seconds, Dr. Chen called out. Vexcor began to respond, but Elena cut the transmission. Status of the Khazari weapon, she demanded. Firing sequence initiated, Maya reported grimly. Impact in approximately 30 seconds. Elena nodded. It won't matter. Broadcast final message to all Earth forces. Petrov opened the channel. Go ahead, Commander. Elena took a deep breath. To all surviving human forces. Brace for Gaia. I repeat, Gaia protocol now activating. May humanity endure. Activation complete, Dr. Chen announced. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. The station continued to shake under the Khazari assault. The alien superweapon continued charging. Earth continued turning below them, scared but still alive. Then, subtly at first, a change began. It started with the clouds. Weather patterns across the planet shifted rapidly, swirling into new configurations that defied natural formation. The oceans darkened, currents changing direction and speed. What's happening? Park whispered, staring at the sensor readings. The planet's electromagnetic field is fluctuating, Dr. Chen explained, her voice filled with a mixture of awe and terror. The Gaia protocol is manipulating Earth's natural defense systems at a molecular level. The Khazari weapon fired, sending a lance of green energy streaking toward Earth's surface. But before it could impact, it met a shimmering barrier that had materialized around the planet. Not a shield in the conventional sense, but a shifting, living membrane of energy that seemed to pulse with its own heartbeat. The alien weapon dissipated against it like water on hot stone. Alarms blared across the Khazari fleet. Their ships began to move, attempting to reposition, but Earth wasn't finished. The atmosphere itself reached out, tendrils of electrically charged particles extending like fingers toward the nearest alien vessels. My God, Maya breathed. The planet is fighting back. The tendrils made contact with the first Khazari ships. Where they touched, the alien metal began to corrode almost instantly, molecular bonds breaking down, as if centuries of decay were happening in seconds. The Gaia protocol identified the alien material composition. Dr. Chen explained, monitoring the readings. It's creating targeted environmental responses, like antibodies attacking an infection. More ships fell victim to the atmospheric assault. Others tried to escape, engines flaring as they attempted to reach the safety of space. But Earth's newly awakened defenses pursued them, the planet's magnetic field extending far beyond its normal boundaries. Incoming transmission from the Khazari flagship, Petrov announced. Elena nodded. Put it through. Vexcor appeared again, but his composure had vanished. Alarms wailed in the background, and the bridge of his vessel was filled with frantic activity. What have you done? He demanded, mandibles clicking rapidly in what Elena now recognized as fear. This is impossible. A planet cannot defend itself. Ours can. Elena replied calmly. I warned you. Earth isn't just our home. It's part of us. And we are part of it. 4 billion years of evolution created an ecosystem that knows how to fight invaders, from the smallest virus toe. She gestured at his image. The largest predator. Outside the viewport, more Khazari ships succumbed to Earth's assault. Some exploded outright as their power cores destabilized. Others drifted, their systems completely shut down by electromagnetic pulses emanating from the planet below. You've awakened something primal, Elena continued. Something that was always there, dormant, waiting. The Gaia protocol didn't create this defense, it just gave Earth the awareness to use it. Vexcor's ship shuddered violently, the transmission breaking up. Cease this attack, he demanded. We will withdraw. We will. The transmission cut out as his flagship was enveloped in a swirling vortex of atmospheric particles, its hull beginning to disintegrate. They're retreating, Park reported, watching the tactical display as the surviving Khazari vessels attempted to flee. The remaining ships are trying to reach Fold space. Will they make it? Elena asked, turning to Dr. Chen. The scientist shook her head. The Gaia field extends beyond lunar orbit now. They're trapped. Elena watched silently as the alien armada, once so overwhelming, so unstoppable, was systematically dismantled by the awakened power of her home planet. She felt no triumph, only a solemn recognition of what this meant for humanity's future. Status of Earth's surface, she asked quietly. Changing, Chen replied. The protocol has triggered widespread environmental responses. Weather patterns are realigning. Damaged ecosystems are regenerating at unprecedented rates. And, she paused, studying the readings, there are signs of integration with human technology. Our surviving systems are being enhanced. What does that mean for the people down there? Elena pressed. I think, Chen said slowly, it means Earth has recognized us as its defenders, its partners. The relationship between humanity and our planet has fundamentally changed. The station's systems suddenly surged with power, emergency lights giving way to full illumination. Station power restored, Maya reported, bewildered. Life support stabilizing. But we didn't do anything. Earth did, Elena murmured. It's protecting us too. As the last of the Khazari ships disintegrated, the strange energy field around Earth began to settle, fading back into the atmosphere, but not disappearing entirely. The planet below looked different somehow, more vibrant, more alive. We should reconnect with ground forces, Elena said after a moment. Assess the situation. See what's left. But as she turned away from the viewport, a strange sensation washed over her, a feeling of connection, of awareness extending beyond her physical body. From the expressions on her crew's faces, they felt it too. We are not alone. The thought came unbidden, but Elena knew it wasn't her own. It was older, vaster, a consciousness that had been awakened after eons of dormancy. Gaia, she whispered. Park looked at her, eyes wide. Commander, I can feel it too. Like the planet is speaking to us. Not speaking, Dr. Chen corrected, her scientific skepticism warring with the undeniable evidence of her own experience. Connecting. The protocol was designed to link Earth's natural systems into a cohesive defense network, but it seems the connection goes both ways. We're part of that network now. Elena turned back to the viewport, watching as Earth continued to heal itself below. The devastation was still visible: burned cities, scarred landscapes. But already, impossibly, new growth was spreading. "We survived," she said softly. "But at what cost? What have we become?" The answers seemed to flow through her, not in words but in understanding. "What you always were: Earth's children, its defenders, its future." As Orbital Defense Station Alpha continued its silent orbit, the remnants of humanity began to rebuild. The Khazari threat had been neutralized, but the universe now contained one fewer spacefaring civilization, and one more living planet, newly awakened to its own power. The message would spread through the stars: Earth was not to be threatened. Not because its people possessed superior technology or overwhelming numbers, but because humans and their world had evolved together into something unprecedented. A symbiotic relationship between a species and its planet that transformed both into something greater than the sum of their parts. Humanity had survived, as it always did, but this time, it hadn't done so alone. Earth itself had chosen to fight.